In part 1, we covered exactly how to understand your financial starting point. You learned how to calculate your net worth, your monthly cash flow, and your financial runway. Now it is time to put that knowledge into action. In part 2, we are covering the practical strategies, budgeting that actually works, emergency funds that protect you, and debt strategies that can save you thousands. Let me tell you about a woman named Christina. Christina hated the word budget. To her it meant restriction, spreadsheets, and feeling guilty about every purchase. She had tried budgeting before. She would create detailed categories, track every penny, and feel proud of herself for about 2 weeks. Then, life happened. She would miss a few days of tracking, the categories would get messy, and she would give up entirely. Christina thought she was bad at budgeting, but the real problem was that she was using the wrong approach. Here is what most people do not understand. The best budget is not the most detailed one. The best budget is the one you will actually follow for months and years. Ramit Sethi calls this the conscious spending plan in I Will Teach You to Be Rich. The goal is not to minimize every expense. The goal is to maximize the value you get from every dollar while making sure you are progressing toward your goals. Let me show you 3 budgeting approaches that work for different personalities. Approach 1, the 50-30-20 rule. This is the simplest approach. Elizabeth Warren popularized it in her book, All Your Worth. 50% of your after-tax income goes to needs. Housing, utilities, groceries, transportation, insurance, minimum debt payments. 30% goes to wants. Dining out, entertainment, hobbies, shopping, subscriptions. 20% goes to savings and extra debt repayment. If you earn $4,000 after taxes, needs $2,000, wants $1,200 savings, and debt payoff $800. This approach works well for people who want simplicity. You do not track every expense category. You just make sure you are staying within these broad percentages. Approach to a zero-based budgeting. This approach means assigning every dollar a job before you spend it. Your income minus your planned expenses should equal 0. Not because you are spending everything, but because every dollar is allocated somewhere, including savings. Dave Ramsey recommends this approach in the Total Money Makeover. He says that giving every dollar an assignment prevents money from mysteriously disappearing. Let me tell you about a man named Terrence. Terrence tried the 50-30-20 rule, but found he was still overspending in random categories. He switched to zero-based budgeting. Now, before each month starts, Terrence writes down every dollar he expects to earn and assigns it to specific categories. Rent, $1,400. Car, $500. Groceries, $400. Utilities, $200. Savings, $300. Debt extra payment, $200. Gas, $150, and so on until every dollar has a job. When the grocery budget is gone, Terrence stops buying groceries until next month. When the entertainment budget is gone, he finds free activities. This approach works well for people who need structure and want maximum control over their money. Approach 3, the envelope method. This approach involves using cash for spending categories that you tend to overspend. You put physical cash into different envelopes labeled with categories: groceries, entertainment, dining out, shopping. When the envelope is empty, you stop spending in that category. This method works exceptionally well for people who struggle with overspending because it makes spending tangible. A woman named Brianna could not stop overspending on dining out. She was spending $400 per month without realizing it. Brianna switched to the envelope method. She put $200 cash in a dining out envelope at the beginning of each month. When the cash was gone, she was done eating out until next month. Within 3 months, Brianna had cut her dining spending in half without feeling deprived. She just became more intentional about where she spent it. Regardless of which budgeting approach you choose, you need to account for irregular expenses. These are costs that happen throughout the year, but not every month. Car insurance, holiday gifts, annual subscriptions, home maintenance, medical expenses, car repairs. Most people forget about these costs and then wonder why they can never stick to their budget. Here is the solution. Add up all your irregular expenses for the year. Divide by 12. Set aside that amount every single month. Let me show you an example. Car insurance paid twice per year, $600 holiday gifts, $500 annual subscriptions, $300 car maintenance, $500 medical expenses, estimate, $400. Total annual irregular expenses, $2,300. Divided by 12, about $192 per month. If you set aside $192 every month into an irregular expenses fund, these costs will never surprise you again. Let me tell you about a man named Lawrence. Lawrence had a decent job and decent income. He thought he was doing fine financially. Then his car's transmission failed. The repair cost $2,300. Lawrence did not have an emergency fund. He put the repair on his credit card at 22% interest. It took him 14 months to pay off that credit card. He paid over $400 in interest. That $2,300 repair actually cost him over $2,700. This is why emergency funds matter. Without an emergency fund, every unexpected expense becomes a debt spiral. You put emergencies on credit cards, you pay interest, you fall further behind. With an emergency fund, emergencies become inconveniences instead of disasters. The traditional advice says you need 3 to 6 months of expenses saved. If your monthly expenses are $4,000, that means $12,000 to $24,000 sitting in savings. For someone living paycheck to paycheck, that sounds impossible. But here is what J.L. Collins explains in The Simple Path to Wealth. You do not need a perfect emergency fund to start. You need a starter emergency fund that grows over time. The Emergency Fund Building Strategy. Stage 1. Save your first $1,000 as fast as possible. This handles most minor emergencies without credit cards. Stage 2. Build to 1 month of expenses. This gives you breathing room for job loss or income disruption. Stage 3. Build to 3 months of expenses. This is true financial security for most situations. Stage 4. Eventually reach 6 months of expenses. This is optimal protection for people with families, mortgages, or unstable income. Start with whatever you can afford. Even $25 per week adds up to $1,300 in a year. The key is treating your emergency fund contribution like a bill that must be paid, not like leftover money you will save if there is anything remaining. Let me tell you about a woman named Danielle. Danielle had never been able to save money. Every time she had extra cash, something came up and she spent it. Danielle started automating her emergency fund. Every payday, $50 automatically transferred from her checking account to a separate savings account at a different bank. Because the money moved automatically before she could spend it. Her emergency fund grew without willpower or effort. In 18 months, Danielle had $2,000 saved, the most money she had ever accumulated. When her refrigerator broke, she paid cash for a replacement. No credit card, no debt spiral, no stress. Automation is the secret weapon for building emergency funds. Your emergency fund should be easily accessible when you need it, but not so accessible that you spend it on non-emergency. Do not keep it in your regular checking account. It will get spent. Do not invest it in the stock market. The value could drop right when you need it. High-yield savings accounts are usually the best option. Online banks often offer rates between 4 and 5% interest while still allowing easy access to your money. The interest will not make you rich, but it keeps your money from losing value to inflation while waiting for emergencies. Not all debt is created equal. This is the first thing you need to understand. There is good debt, and really bad debt. Good debt helps you build wealth or increase your earning potential over time. A mortgage is usually considered good debt because real estate typically appreciates and you need somewhere to live anyway. Student loans can be good debt if the education leads to higher earnings that more than offset the cost. Bad debt is money borrowed to buy things that lose value or do not generate income. Car loans fall into this category because cars depreciate rapidly. Credit card debt used for consumer purchases is bad debt because you are paying interest on things that provide no financial return. Really bad debt is high-interest debt used for consumption. Payday loans, cash advances, and credit cards with interest rates above 20% are financial poison. This type of debt can destroy your wealth-building potential for years. Robert Kiyosaki explains this simply in Rich Dad Poor Dad. Good debt puts money in your pocket. Bad debt takes money out of your pocket. Let me show you why high-interest debt is so dangerous. If you have $5,000 in credit card debt at 20% interest and you only make minimum payments, you will pay over $15,000 total. It will take more than 30 years to pay off. You will pay more than $10,000 in interest alone. Meanwhile, if you had invested that same money at 8% returns, it would have grown to over $50,000 in 30 years. The opportunity cost of high-interest debt is not just the interest you pay, it is also the wealth you could have built with that money. This is why eliminating high-interest debt should be your top priority, even before building a large emergency fund. There are two main approaches for paying off debt. Both work. The right choice depends on your personality. The debt snowball method. Focus on paying off your smallest balance first, regardless of interest rates. Make minimum payments on all debts. Put any extra money toward the smallest balance. Once that is paid off, take the money you were paying on it and add it to the payment on your next smallest balance. The debt avalanche method. Focus on paying off your highest interest rate debt first, regardless of balance size. Make minimum payments on all debts. Put any extra money toward the highest interest rate. This saves you more money in interest over time. Which should you choose? The debt snowball often works better for people who need psychological wins to stay motivated. Paying off small balances quickly creates momentum. Dave Ramsey strongly recommends the snowball method because personal finance is 80% behavior and only 20% math. The debt avalanche makes more mathematical sense because you save more on interest. Let me tell you about a man named Wesley. Wesley had 3 debts. Credit card, $2,000 at 22% personal loan, $5,000 at 12% student loan, $15,000 at 6% using the avalanche method. Wesley attacked the credit card first because it had the highest rate, then the personal loan, then the student loans. Wesley saved over $1,000 in interest compared to the snowball method, but his friend Courtney had similar debts and tried the avalanche method. She got discouraged because the highest rate debt was also her largest balance. She felt like she was making no progress. Courtney switched to the snowball method. She paid off a small store credit card in 2 months, then a medical bill in 3 months. Those quick wins motivated her to keep going. Both Wesley and Courtney became debt-free. They just used different approaches that matched their personalities. The best debt payoff strategy is the one you will actually stick with. Now you have practical strategies for budgeting, building your emergency fund, and destroying debt. But here is the thing. Eliminating debt and building savings is defensive. It stops you from going backward. To actually build wealth, you need offense. You need to make your money work for you. In Part 3, we are covering the wealth-building strategies that most people never learn. We will break down exactly how investing works in simple terms anyone can understand. We will show you the power of compound interest that can turn small monthly contributions into hundreds of thousands of dollars. And we will cover smart decisions about homes, cars, and retirement that can change your entire financial future. Part 3 is where everything comes together. Make sure you watch it because building wealth is simpler than you think once you understand the system.